Hello, and welcome to the latest episode of the Low Budget Review Show. I am your host, Eric Smith. Today, I'm talking about Rabbit Hunt by Rath James White. I'm just going to go ahead and read the back cover copy because right off the bat, it says, Trigger warning, this is a Rath James White novella. Mookie, Rashad, Steve, and Big Mike haven't gone hunting together since their college days. Marriage, kids, and careers have kept them busy and left little time for hanging out with the boys. But that all changes this weekend. For the first time in years, the boys are going on a little rabbit hunt, and the woods will echo with screams. Taking the redneck psycho, excuse me, taking the redneck psychopaths in the woods trope and turning it on its head, the heavyweight of hardcore horror brings you a tale of extreme violence as only he can deliver it. Uh, and I think that's very true. Um, for the too long didn't watch folks, I gave this 4 out of 5 stars on Goodreads. I really liked it. It's been way too long since I've read some Rath James White, and this is his latest. Um, as soon as the paperback was available, I ordered it. As soon as I finished the book I was reading, once this came in, I read it. As a matter of fact, I read it the day I got it. Um, and I flew through it. It's 180 pages. It's a quick read, but it's extremely violent. It's funny. It's political, and so basically, we have these characters: Mookie, Rashad, Steve, and Big Mike, and they're going on a rabbit hunt, and we learn very early what this means. And they used to do this when they were in college 10 years ago, but as it says in the back cover copy, life gets in the way, and they haven't done this in a while. And again, it's no spoiler, is it? Isn't it? I don't think it is. Um, I mean, the back cover copy, and the picture kind of give you an idea. Um, Basically, their rabbit hunts, their snow bunny hunts, are um, they find white people and they hunt them down and torture them and kill them. And there's character. There are four old friends. Excuse me, but there's character conflict between these friends. They each have distinct personalities, and so it's that thing of people you went to college with, you've didn't have a falling out or anything, but didn't stay best friends for 10 years, and so there's they've stayed in contact. Well, there's one couple of them that have been together for basically together for 10 years. And they've stayed in touch. They've stayed friends. Well, there's a couple. Well, I don't want to give. I was going to say something, but I'll give it away. Anyway, there's conflict between these four characters, and then they have conflict with other characters, and this leads to other, more extreme, more graphic conflict. I'm trying not to spoil anything besides the whole rabbit hunt thing, but again, that's not really a spoiler. They, on their way to their cabin for their snow bunny hunt, they have a run in with some shitty college students. Um, that's going to lead to some more conflict. There are twists and there are turns, big twists, big turns, huge amounts of graphic violence, and some. I mean, the sex is kind of graphic, but I don't think it compares to the graphic nature of the violence. But it's not quite so over the top that it's as funny as some of Edward Lee's stuff. But I think it does push that boundary, and I think that there is humor here in the characters, their interactions, some of the things that are done and said. Now, Rath James White has a um, a Substack, and Substack's been a little controversial because they have some of their paid users, or users that pay to use it, are essentially Nazis. A bunch of authors jumped ship. They said, I'm not going to support a place that takes money from Nazis under the guise of free speech. But Wrath James White was like, I'm not running from Nazis. I'm not letting them run me out of this place. So he's still on Substack, and he blogs every week, at least once a week, I believe. And he has a specific blog when this was coming out about criminalizing black characters. That's how I'm putting it. I could be incorrect in my verbiage, but essentially that the media, movies, TV shows, tend to. You should read this because he says it much, much better than I am. Just that the portrayal of black people in movies, TV, books tends towards the criminal. And then he talks about, well, it's can be problematic, but you can't not make somebody a criminal just because. You can't just say, well, my character's black, I can't make him a bad guy, because then how do I look if I've made, because there are bad people of every race, religion, sexual orientation, whatever. And again, Wrath talks about this much better than I do. I'm going to put a link. Hopefully I'll remember. But I'm going to put a link in the description below to his Substack, to this specific blog, if I can do that. Otherwise, it'll just be to his Substack, and you can find it. It's easy to find. But anyway, so he talks about this stuff, and he talks about how this is an extreme horror with comedic beats to it. Man, I'm really having an interesting day. Might be because I actually got up very early and went to work on a Saturday morning. I feel like this is the second review I've recorded this evening, and it feels just as rambly and incoherent as the previous one. So, Rabbit Hunt, Wrath James White, 4 out of 5 stars. I flew through it. Didn't want to put it down. It's got great characters, shitty characters, but great, well-written characters, interesting characters, extreme violence. There is another trigger warning that I liked here, and yes, I'm just going to go ahead and read this trigger warning. So, trigger warning for this trigger warning. Trigger warning. This novella contains acts of extreme violence, torture, rape, sex, sexism, sexual assault, sexual exploitation, sodomy, homicide, sadism, masochism, cannibalism, racism, racial violence, racial language, racial stereotypes, necrophilia, police brutality, drug abuse, alcohol abuse, sexual abuse, homophobic language, infidelity, sizeism, classism, feces, vomiting, blood, gore, drowning, macrophilia, lies, betrayal, politics, religion, destruction of property, reckless driving, severe weather, harsh language, smoking, gluten, dairy, and may contain, gluten, smoking, gluten, dairy, and may contain nuts. I think that trigger warning, as a whole, gives you a feeling of how this book is written. When you get to the lies, the part where it says lies, betrayal, politics, religion, destruction of property, reckless driving, severe weather, that gives you an idea of the feel of this book. But it does contain all of those things, except maybe the nuts and the gluten. Not 100% sure. So, yes. Again, if you're an extreme horror fan, highly recommend it. If you're a Wrath James White fan, which means you're an extreme horror fan, I don't know. Highly recommended. If you're any of those things in that trigger warning are going to bother you, do not read this. But Rabbit Hunt, Wrath James White, 4 out of 5 stars. Absolutely loved it. Don't know why. Well, I do know why it's been so long since I've read Wrath James White, because I have 1,000 other books to read. But I was so excited to see he had this coming out. And as I said, I mean, ordered it as soon as it was available in paperback, read it the day it arrived. Because I'm a huge Wrath fan. I need to read. I have quite a few of his books that I haven't read yet. I need to remedy that. But again, thousands of other books to read. There you go. That was rather abrupt. Question for this video. I don't know. I think I've asked about trigger warnings before. I think I've asked if people are fans of extreme horror before. There's definitely a political point of view, but I think I've asked about politics before. I'm running out of questions to ask. So I guess if you have any comments, questions, corrections, please put those in the comments below. Comments are open for spoilers. Just post a spoiler warning. We try to be polite here at the Low Budget Review Show. Please like, share, and subscribe, all the usual YouTube stuff. And if you'd care to follow me on other social media, my Twitter is @Ronan5757. My Instagram, where I post pictures of books, comic books, board games, fuzzy animals, is EricSmith5757. That's Eric with a K, ERIKSMITH5757. If you're on Blue Sky, I am @ELSmith. That's all I've got. This has been the Low Budget Review Show. I have been Eric Smith, and until next time, read more books.